What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy Tony Shen. I'm back with another FL Studio stock plugin tutorial. If you're new to this channel, this is basically a series where I make beats only using stock plugins or other easily accessible / free sounds. Today we're gonna make a Drake certified lover boy type OVO sounding vibey type beat. A little bit more up tempo, but we're gonna get that OVO like wavy underwater type vibe. Really excited for the beat. And just one quick message for my returning subscribers. I know I kind of made the promise that I was going to post every week, but I just wasn't really feeling right last week, so I decided not to post. But to make it up, I'm going to post 2 videos this week. The second video I'm going to post is going to be more creative. It's not going to be like tutorial step by step, but it's just going to like show you guys new ways of coming up with sounds that you might not know before. But to get to the point, I'm going to make a Drake type beat today, and we're going to get started right away. So to start with a Drake type beat, let's first start with a melody. Now with the melody, you want it to sound very like vibey and underwater and almost kind of dark, right? That typical like OVO type vibe. So how do you create that sound? That's a good question. I think a good place to start is to find like soft, like ambient, paddy almost type keys. And there's a lot of great FL Studio tools that you could use. The one that I have in mind comes from Flex. Now, if you have an older version of FL Studio, you might not have access to Flex. So if you don't have access to Flex, equally acceptable plugins to use would be like Citrus. They have some good like piano sounds or like ambient piano sounds, or Morphine. You guys can look at Morphine or even like Harmor. But for the sound that I have in mind, we're gonna go to Flex, and you can find that in the Essential Pianos installed pack. It's a free to download pack that you can just find somewhere here. But the sound that I have in mind is the piano pad. I'm gonna play it for you guys. Here's what it sounds like. Now I'm playing these on a MIDI keyboard, but if you don't have a MIDI keyboard, what is going on here? If you don't have a MIDI keyboard, that's okay. We're gonna draw out all the notes. I just have it so I can like test out sounds and play. But I'll teach you guys how to create the chords. It's actually pretty simple. What you want is like a very vibey and simple even chord progression, right? But let's first start with a tempo. You want something a little bit more upbeat. I'm looking for something a little bit more upbeat, right? Maybe like in the 170 range, like 178 range. So let's just pick the saddest of the saddest scale, the D minor. D minor. Start with a D, and then let's just start with basic triad chords, right? Let's go a step. Just start with basic triad chords. So 1, 3, right? Let's extend this here, and then maybe go down one note. Go to C. C major. Go to like an F major, right? F, or that's E. F, A, F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, and then maybe go back to the C major. Give me 1 second. Let's increase the buffer length. That way there's less clipping. Okay, if you made beats and you created chords before, you've definitely created some variation of this type of chord. It's a very basic and easy to use chord, but it does have its limitation in that it's very boring and predictable. So let's spice it up a little bit and give it a little bit more of a talking point, right? Let's add a 7th and make this chord a little more interesting. Let's add a 7th to each of these chords. So what I mean by 7th is if D minor, you're in the key of D minor, right? D is the first note, F is the 3rd note, A is the 5th note, 6, 7th. So C would be the 7th note. Sounds a little bit more interesting, right? And let's just add a 7th to each of these notes. So C is the 1st, E is the 5th, G is the C is the 1st, E is the 3rd, G is the 5th. And then a good way to think about it is if you just take one step down from C, so that would be your 7th, right? So and then take one step down, so from F, so that would be an E, right? And resolve on the same chord. So as you can tell, it sounds a lot more interesting, right? And we already gave it a lot more flavor, but it could still use a little bit more direction. And how do you give a little direction to notes? Like if you're just playing chords with your left hand, if you're playing piano, if you think about it from a piano standpoint, right? If you're just playing chords, well, one thing you could do is add transitional notes, right? So notes that translate from one chord to the other and just transition. So dong, dong. Boom, boom, boom. It sounds a little more interesting, right? It gives it a little bit more direction rather than just playing four boring chords at the same time. It gives it a little bit more direction, right? Now, if you think about it, we just played our left hand, right? Like you could play this entire melody only using one hand. Right? I'm playing this one hand. I have one other free hand, and that's a hand that I can use to create other melodies on top to kind of embellish your first bass layer melody. Boom, boom. 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 Boom, 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 boom. Ideally, we want the top notes to be a little bit more softer, especially in like if you think of like a Drake setting, you want the chords to be the main driver of the melodies, especially because like you have someone sing over it, right? So you don't want the embellishing like the top melody to be too in the way. So let's turn it down a little bit. Let's just turn it down, the velocity down a little bit, so that is not as present. And speaking of velocity, so if you think about playing chords and if you're playing piano, right, like your notes are never going to hit the same velocity at the same time. Like you're always going to have some notes that hit a little louder, some notes that hit a little softer. So to kind of emulate that, and when you're playing MIDI, is we can randomize the velocity by using the randomizer tool, in which you can access by pressing Alt-R if you're on Windows or Option-R if you're on Mac. So if you have the bipolar mode on, it just means that when you adjust this knob, the velocity knob, it turns it both ways. And I think that's the most... that gives it a cool effect. So let's just randomize it a little bit, and also let's offset the timing a little bit, because you're never gonna play the notes or the chords on beat perfectly every single time like we have right now. So Alt S if you're on Windows, Option S if you're on Mac, and we can kind of offset the timing by strumming it a little bit. Okay, this is way too soft. Let's turn it up a little bit. Yeah. That sounds pretty cool, right? We have our basic MIDI melody down. Let's add some effects to it to make it sound more Drake and just make it sound more underwater and vibey. Okay, so let's route this to link this to the mixer. Control L if you're on Windows, Command L if you're on Mac. we have this into our mixer, and here we can add effects to it. So first thing I want to do is to give it a little bit more of like a darker type sound. And by dark, typically what we do is add a little bit more lower end and cut out some of like the higher end, right? But before we even like start EQing and cutting out some of the frequencies, a cool effect you can do is by opening gross beat. And I don't have the full version of this, so I only have the trial version, but it's cool. Bear with me. I have a way of getting around using that. I have a way of getting around it. It's a little inconvenient, but it still works if you have the trial version and you're a broke boy like me. So what I'm going to do with gross beat is we want to do the little halftime effect, right? So let's go to presets, and then I think it's momentary. Where's halftime? Half speed. It just speeds it down by half and makes it sound a little darker and a little bit more muffled and underwater. But if you do that, we still want some of our original melody to kind of sound through, right? So what you can do is the mix knob, right? Turn down the mix knob so that it's only halfway. Now, the thing with gross beat, if you don't have the full version, is that if you close it, it's going to not be able to open back up again. So what we can do is actually just export this entire thing into audio. So just right click here into the red button right here to record, and then Option R if you're on Mac, Alt R if you're on Windows, and that will allow you to render the track. And then if you just render it, you'll turn it into an audio form. And the audio form, if you open it here, you don't really need this anymore. You can honestly just take it out. And then you have the half sped effect, but you didn't pay for the full version of gross beat, so win-win. So what we can do is route it here by Control L or Command L if you're on Mac again, and then we can do it a little bit more to the sound and make it sound even a little bit more underwater. So let's cut out some of the lows because you don't want that to interfere with our bass. And then let's turn down some of the treble and just make it sound very filtered. Right, and then let's open it up a little bit, give it a little bit more space by reverbing it. Sounds pretty vibey, right? Okay, so now let's give it a little bit more bounce. Oh, nope, pattern 1. Let's mute this. Let's add some drums to it, right? Just to give it more bounce. Now, the drums I'm going to use come from Tony Shen Slap Pack volumes 1 through 3. They're all free for you guys to download. It's in the link in the description. It's my premier drum kit that I honestly use on most of my beats anyways. And it's really fine-tuned selected sounds that I've made myself. So it's all original sounds, not recycled. And you guys have all of these sounds available to you for free. All you have to do is click in the link in the description below. You'll be able to download them and use them however you like. Ooh, I like that 808. I think that's the 808 we're gonna use. Let's add a clap. Ooh, that's cute. And then add some close hats. I like that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's record the 808 melody manually. All you have to do is click the red button, notes and automation, press space. My timing is very off because I turned up the latency so that my CPU can be processed. So my timing is really off, but easy fix to that is go to step and then Command Q, and that quantizes it to the grid. And then all I did to record is press the Q key. That just basically C5 on your MIDI. It's obviously we still need to adjust to the pitch, right? So first things first, let's kind of process our 808 a little bit. So we want to first tune it. So Command E or Control E if you're on Windows. That opens the Edison tool, and as you can see, it already says here. But if you want to detect pitch region, that'll give you that little flag here if you didn't have it displayed before, and that tells you it's C, so it's already tuned to C. You don't need to do anything. But if that said like D2 or E2, you would want to adjust that by right-clicking on whatever the note that thing says, so you have the right root note so that all your notes are in tune. Next step is to create an envelope just to give it like that spatial feeling, because like you don't want the note to leak into the next note if you don't have that envelope activated. With that, it gives you more control over like the release of the note, which I like doing. And then here you can just extend all the notes, so Control L if you're on Windows, Command L if you're on Mac, and there you have your rhythm. Right, but now let's move the notes to the proper notes so that it's in tune with the chords. So it's very easy. All you have to do is move your notes to the bass note. Turn the hi-hat down a little bit. It's kind of way too in your face. To link multiple tracks to the mixer, Control Shift L or Command Shift L if you're on Mac. Turn the hi-hats down. Let's add a kick just to give it that feel, you know. Let's go to first slap pack volume 1. This is my first slap pack. I think this kick it's not too in your face, but it's also not like too blended in with the 808 if you have it together. That's what it sounds like. And then you could just like mimic the 808 rhythm and then just put it on top of each of your 808 notes and be exactly in line with the 808. But I think with Drake, he likes to experiment with that a little bit more, and you have a little bit more stuttery if you have him play at different times. Go back to slap pack volume 3 and let's find a closed or open hat. Actually, I think slap pack volume 2 has the best open hats. Ooh. And we can just have it lead into the snare like. This and then link the kick. can actually turn the kick, normalize it, so it just gives it more gain, right? Girls like girls, yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. Anyways, it could maybe add like a snare or something just to give it just to make the rhythm a little bit more interesting. The rib snare could work. Okay, last thing we want to do is maybe add like a little synthy, like almost like vocally type ambient like melody thing in the back, like a little jab thing. I don't really know how to describe it, but let's look for a sound in Flex that we could use. Like something kind of like stabby, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like a brass would sound pretty good. So I think if you don't have Flex, if you pull up Citrus and you look for like brass type sounds and you just search in the presets and search for something that like is brass related, if you go to Harmor or if you go to Morphine even, I think they have brass sounds. And you look for like something kind of jabby, right? Like a jab sound. Yeah. Something a little brassy. Let's go to the here. Let's go to this melody here, and then let's just think of something. Bum 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 bum. Maybe a full brass. Sounds a little thin. Sounds pretty cool, right? Sounds a little jabby. Obviously, we're gonna add some effects to it to make it sound more bearable. But as of now, I think it sounds pretty cool. So what we can do first is, because this is the FL Studio stock plugin, you have access to like all of these tools that you can use, right? So we could add a little bit of a slide. So if you turn Porta and Mono on and turn the slide knob up. Okay, let's turn this down. It's way too loud right now. So let's link it to the mixer. Control L. Turn the input gain down. Let's mute this, right click. First, let's just do the basic EQ. Turn this down, the treble down, because again, we want it to sound muffled and dark. And then what we can do is add a little distortion, right? To just bring it out a little bit, but also to just bring it out a little bit. But maybe you want it before the parametric EQ, and maybe actually we want to like filter it. So do a little low pass filter here. Actually, you know what? Let's go find like a preset, like a little old telephone preset. Yeah, it sounds a little muffled, distorted, but just like pretty in the back, right? A little dark. and then give it space by giving it some delay. Fruity delay 3. Let's do 2. Level. Let's do a little ping pong delay. A reverb. Girls like girls, yeah, me too. Me too. Dude, this is Drake. Like, Drake could probably hop on it. So we had all the melodies. As you could tell earlier, I did it before I was able to talk about it, but I just split by channel, so it allows you to split all those patterns into individual channels. What we can do is, we don't need that piano pad anymore because we already converted it to audio, but let's just drag and click here, drag it here. I like having all my melodies at the top and all my drums at the bottom. That's just the way I like to arrange it and just keep myself organized. But otherwise, we have all the melody, we have all the sounds you need. Let's just arrange it, right? Let's just turn it into a full beat. Probably let's see, maybe I'll come here, then maybe I'll go here. Bass goes here. Maybe we won't need the kick right here. Maybe we don't need all of that. It just comes in pretty slow. Turn down a little bit. Okay, so that's like 2 minutes long. It's pretty long. You could extend it if you wanted to. I think this is just pretty simple. It's a pretty solid arrangement for now. One last thing we could do is give certain sections to make the whole beat sound underwater, right? What we could do is kind of play around with a master, and then something you want to be a little careful of, just playing around on the master, but trust me, I think we can make it work. So what we're gonna do is add I think this cool underwater sounding preset that you could use on FL Studio from the Fruity Love Filter plugin. And then if you go here, I think it's like triangle low pass or something. Yeah, it sounds underwater, right? It's super cool. Now what we can do, what we could do is automate the mix level so that it only happens somewhere and only like half mix, right? This is what it sounds like with half mix. Full mix. So what we could do is automate this, right? So right click here, create automation clip. And then we might want to like, it might start out kind of underwater, right? And then it turns off for here, maybe. And then maybe it's like halfway here. And then it turns off and maybe it turns back So that's the full beat, guys. I hope you guys had a good time watching me do this, and hope you guys took something away from it. Really appreciate you guys taking your time to show support on my videos. So if you haven't done so already, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, drop a comment on what I should do next, so I have more ideas on next tutorial videos. And yeah, leave a thumbs up if you really got something from it. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget your free drum kit, link in the description below. I'm gonna play for the beat for you guys from start, and thank you guys.